If you think teachers don't get enough respect, spare a thought for the most reviled and disrespected of them all. Hello, teachers. I'm Nancy with Escaping the Classroom, and I help teachers find genuine ways to start their own businesses. In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at floating teachers, also known as mobile teachers or traveling teachers. These poor souls are doomed to spend a year, sometimes more, pushing a cart full of school supplies up and down the halls. Never heard of a floater before? Floater Teacher Have Cart Will Travel will tell you all about it. Ah, nostalgia. I taught off of a cart just like this one my first year in a brand new school. Several professions do have their versions of floaters. In law firms, it's common to hire floater secretaries who can be dispatched to fill in if someone's on vacation or there's a big project coming up. In a school, a floater is a teacher without a classroom. This mobile teacher travels from other teachers' classrooms to classrooms with their supplies and all of their teaching materials that they'll need for the day loaded onto that cart. Why do schools do this? The main reason is to save money. Cuts to education budgets, increasing numbers of students, and fewer resources mean schools have to tighten their belts somewhere. In the past, floating teachers were mostly teachers of elective subjects that only a handful of students signed up for. The thought was there wasn't a real need for a classroom if the teacher only had a few students. Now, even teachers who teach academic subjects can find themselves behind a cart. How do schools decide who gets a classroom and who doesn't? According to the Allocation blog, the main factors that go into this decision are, first, the number of students who typically enroll in the class. If a teacher's subject doesn't get a high enrollment, they reason that it makes sense to lessen the impact on classes with larger enrollments. The second is status. Part-time teachers are more likely to be mobile teachers than full-time teachers. And seniority. A veteran teacher is unlikely to be forced into a mobile position, even if their subject matter has a small enrollment. This makes it more likely that first-year teachers are the ones that will get assigned to a cart. Most teachers find it very challenging to be a floater. Some of the negatives they report include no room to hold supplies, no walls to hang posters, maps, or charts, and ridiculous rules set by the host teachers. An article about floaters in Education Week quoted now retired Florida teacher Elizabeth Randall, who told the magazine, "The first year, I was kind of a mess. There really wasn't much out there for floating teachers." By the end of her second year, Randall had improved her outlook and her strategies for being a floater teacher so much that she was able to write a guide for other teachers called The Floating Teacher, a guide to surviving and thriving. Some of her tips included getting and staying on good terms with the host teacher by respecting their rules and trying to resolve differences without conflict. To personalize your cart, make it as organized as possible. It is your base of operations, so make it work for you. And appreciate the opportunities for collaboration. Floating can be an irritating situation for everyone involved. On the A to Z Teacher Stuff forum, one member started a discussion thread about being a traveling teacher, and comments flew in from both cart-pushing teachers and those who hosted them. One teacher wrote, "I hate it. There are no advantages. There are lots of sucky parts, like carrying stuff from class to class, not being able to put posters or projects on the wall, forgetting things in another classroom, and dragging lab equipment to a different classroom or dragging the skeleton to different classrooms." Another former floater said other teachers were the worst part of the teaching without a classroom of her own. She said some teachers were really wonderful about sharing a room. Some were incredibly difficult, like the teacher who wouldn't allow me to use the whiteboard at all, the one who refused to leave the room even though she was required to, the ones who accused my students of stealing even though they were in their seats the whole time. Having to get the principal involved over such petty items as being able to use the board. So what about the view from the other side? Well, a teacher who hosted traveling teachers in her classroom posted about having to spend at least $100 every semester to replace items that the travelers trashed. I've had to deal with clogged sinks, paint on my tables, chewed gum everywhere, profanity carved into desks, messy floors, and trash in drawers because floating teachers are not concerned about the room, she writes. It isn't there, so why bother? She also included floating teachers use regular teacher supplies as well. I found that many men in particular are very hard on expo markers. They'll press so hard on the board that the nibs go flat. These are markers that I buy myself. It appears that the complaints go both ways. Is there any upside to being a traveling teacher? Well, some teachers found that they adjusted well to their classroom-free status. They wouldn't necessarily trade it for a classroom-based position, but they found that it gave them a different perspective on their work and their students. Teacher Josh Caldwell described his year of pushing a cart as mostly positive. He said, "I've been a vagrant, a wanderer, a man without a country, and I've grown to love it." Mostly. Caldwell said he developed the ability to think creatively and had greater opportunities for collaboration. Other teachers included things like not having to spend as much money on classroom supplies and decorations, not being assigned lunch duty, bus duty, or homeroom responsibilities, and developing top-notch organizational skills as positives for being on a cart. Have you ever had experience teaching without a classroom? I did my first year in a new school district. And my biggest problem was a host teacher who was hyper neat about the classroom. There were times when I literally took tape to pick up tiny bits of paper and lint from the floor before I left for the next classroom down the hall. My experience also revealed that students form some less than flattering opinions about floating teachers. Unless it's the first period of the day, you are often late, and they let you know about it. If you're using technology in the classroom, it takes time away from your lessons to set up and then again to break down at the end of the period. Because remember, you got to get down the hall to the next classroom. And several students would ask, the other teachers have their own classrooms. Are you being punished? Nope, I'm just new this year. I'm pretty sure my experience is not unique. That's it for today, class. I'm Nancy. If you'd like to see more job options at Escaping the Classroom, just click the link below. If you found something useful in this video, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.